Welcome to our podcast. My guest today is Dr. Petra Schmidl. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And I will ask you to explain to us what is your position in the University of Erlangen and also your project.
At the university at Erlangen, I'm just a researcher. I have a research position supported by the DFG, the German Research Foundation, and it's associated with the IKGF, the International Consortium for Research in the Humanities, that focuses on prognostication practices in the Middle Ages and in China. And because the project I'm working on relates to this prognostication and prognostic practices, I'm associated with this consortium. It's kind of association, let's say.
Yes, it's where you develop most of your work because of the connections between your work and their main topics of research. And what are your main lines of research?
Originally, I'm a historian of science, mainly interested in pre-modern astronomy and astrology in the Arabic sources. But due to my association or my fellowships in Erlangen that came before, I got more and more interested in prognostic practices in general in the Arabic sources. And let's say a sideline of my research are Astrolabes, especially how you can use them as sources for the history of astronomy and astrology. So this is, these three things.
Astrolabes is another topic that is absolutely fascinating. And it has no end, because when we get to it, it's absolutely fascinating. Not only they are very interesting from the perspective of the history of science, but they also are beautiful. They are absolutely stunning, all of them.
Yeah, they are very fascinating instruments, and they have so many different purposes. Yeah, they are. I remember some figures from the Middle Ages where you have persons holding an astrolabe high, just to denote it's an astrologer or something like that. So it's kind of astrolabes being an icon, for example, for profession, if you want to say this, for the Middle Ages. That's an interesting topic because they are so multifunctional, as a colleague of mine always says about them.
We normally think the astrolabes only serve to measure the position of the stars or the sun, but actually they had dozens of applications. Also, when it comes to measure the buildings or distances in Earth. So they were like, I normally say they are the great-grandparents of computers.
Of our
due to their complexity.
That's true. They are, they have, let's say, some basic function like measuring the altitude of a star or of a building, but to go on from this starting point, there are so many possibilities. You can use them for calculation, for measurement, but also for demonstrating how rich you are, for example, and other things, to entertain people, to demonstrate how skilled you are in using these instruments, and so on and so on. So there's a huge amount of
well, to entertain people is something that I never thought, but really they can be very entertaining because they are so fascinating.
You can use them for teaching basics in astronomy and astrology. So there are so many functions that make these instruments so fascinating, I think, until today.
Until today, indeed.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your site and about your project, the Sultan and the Stars?
One of my favorite topics.
I was looking forward to it.
What information do you need for the starting point? What I'm doing in this project, or
Well, I know that you have this project is based on two documents, similar documents, one in Oxford, one in Paris,
yeah,
and these are the sources, the source material.
yeah,
And I would like you to explain a little bit of the contents of these documents.
yeah, yeah.
From what I understood, they have astrological and non-astrological contents.
Yes, they have. What we are talking about is a treatise from the 13th century Yemen that is preserved in one manuscript in Oxford. And as I learned by a colleague of mine from London, in Äilm, a couple of months ago, there's another copy in Paris. And there is and the author of this treatise is Al-Ashraf Omar. He became later in his life one of the sultans, one of the Rasulid sultans in the Yemen. And
For 2 years, apparently.
Nearly, yeah, for a very, very short time. That's true, yeah. But I think he made his efforts his scholarly efforts in the time before, when he was,
Before he became a sultan.
Before he became the sultan, yeah. And the two manuscripts are quite different. The Oxford manuscript is very well organized. It has a table of contents that numbers the 50 chapters and give their headlines. And it's very beautiful, made in black and red ink to emphasize parts. So it's really a beautiful manuscript, and it's not dated, the Oxford manuscript, and there's no copyist mentioned, nothing. But several colleagues said it's most probably quite early, probably from the 14th century. So it's very close to the writing of the treatise, and it might be from the Yemen. So the Oxford manuscript is very close to the original, most probably. There are a couple of reasons to say so. And the newly discovered Paris manuscript is quite late. It's from the I think 17th or 18th century, and it's quite a mess, let's say. For example, there's no table of contents. The chapters are not numbered. There are a lot of parts missing in between. There are parts omitted. There is new material integrated, and the script looks to me like being from, let's say, generally speaking, from the east, either Iraq, Iran, somewhere there. But this is just a first guess.
The script, just for be clear, is in Arabic.
Yeah, both is in Arabic. Yeah, both in Arabic. But the Oxford manuscript might be a Yemeni hand, but the Paris manuscript, the younger manuscript, is something Eastern. An idea is Iraq or even Iran, but I'm not sure about it, because I learned about this Paris manuscript just a couple of months ago, and I started to make a concordance to see what is parallel, what is missing, what is added, and it's just work in progress.
Yes, so, but still being not so good copy, it's still a testimony of the circulation of this manuscript, at least in that region.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have it, because before I have only one manuscript, and I was always suspecting that there might be something in the Yemen or another copy in the Yemen, but I couldn't find it. And so the question of distribution or transmission, or was it even read, was impossible to answer. And so now I have a document that tells me, even in the 17th, 18th century, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly.
Well, 4 or 5 centuries later is a long time.
It's still of interest to people, and this, I think, is quite an important point. I think for understanding, for editing and translating the text, the Paris copy is not really helpful, but it has other, it stresses other aspects. For example, this interest in the topics, that it moved somewhere out of the Yemen, apparently, and also these let's say updates made in the Paris manuscripts are quite interesting, because if you check in detail which parts are updated and why they might be updated, you learn a lot about how you deal with knowledge.
That was going to be my next question, because what they dropped out and what they brought in shows us how their interest shifted. Some things were no longer interesting, and so they let them go, and other things they decided to incorporate. So this is also very interesting in the sense that we can see how they how their interest changes.
This is one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have it.
Yes,
finally.
Well, I can imagine when we have this second manuscript or some new finding in what we are researching. Well, it's such a joy.
It's really a pleasure, and I'm at the moment I'm working on a different chapter of the tabṣira to publish. But of course, the concordance is still something that I work parallel to get ready, and I don't know.
Also, to make it clear, your project is called the Sultan and the Stars, and I will leave the link in the description. But the manuscript itself, it's called tabṣira al-ίλm al-nujūm, the knowledge of the stars.
The title is Kitāb ﷺ fil al-nujūm lil-mubtadi, and so on and so on. It's this tabṣira is some kind of, you can, if you like, you can translate it like
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. This is one possibility. There are others. I have colleagues that translate it different, but it's in the end it's an introduction or an enlightenment in the science
clarification,
of
perhaps.
The clarification. What is quite important, because in the preface the author says it's for beginners. And I think this is an important point to see if this this claim he makes in the preface, this is kind of introduction probably for beginners in the science of the stars, if he really fulfills this claim in his treatise. This is one of my research questions.
One of the questions you ask the document, yes. And it is also always amazing when they write an introduction, which is supposedly for beginners, how much they put in it.
And this is quite interesting, because if you have a look on the chapters, on the 50 chapters in the tabṣira, you can't recognize something like organized schedule or something. You have for example, in the last two chapters, in 49 and 50, he starts to explain the Hindu-Arabic ciphers and multiplication by them in the end of the treatise. But for example, he uses these ciphers in another chapter, in chapter 14, to make magic squares.
Wow.
This is not really I would say, I still think about it, but my first guess is this is not that useful for a beginner.
Maybe they were not expected. Maybe they were not expected to read the book from the beginning to the end. Maybe they were expecting to use them as, to go directly to some chapter. I'm just guessing.
This is a very good guess, and this is parallel to my how I proceed with the project. I'm not doing the chapters from 1 to 50. I just do at the moment. It depends on the people or the colleagues that could help me in doing the chapters, which one I choose, and it's because they are not that connected. That is rather a kind of reference book than a book you read from A to Z. This is one of the ideas I have with it.
Yes, and probably this is one of my pet ideas. I don't know if you agree, but probably this was accompanied by oral tradition, because books were more like a repository of knowledge. They would put just the tables and the knowledge, and then the teacher would give the students everything that doesn't fit in a book, like their experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we have the books, they are precious, but they are probably only a part of the knowledge.
Yeah, or part of the teaching process, for example. There are a couple of possibilities I'm thinking about, but at the end I can't just take the preface where he gives some information why he wrote the book, and can take the contents and then see which ideas are probably more supported than others. But
Yes.
to come to a final answer, this will be not possible. Just some
Just
good
guessing.
just guessing, but good guesses, yes.
Regarding the contents, I have my homework here. I know that there are calendars and timekeeping, and then numbers and ciphers, as you mentioned, and also astrolabes, of course, and then astrological and non-astrological prognostication.
Yeah, true.
There are some things that are really strange and interesting, like the sighting of animals and the sounds of animals. But then you also have what I would call the classical astrological contents, like the planets, the signs. So this is a very diverse book, very rich in information.
Yeah. It's for example, in the beginning of the tabṣira, let's say up to chapter 20 or less, you have many astrological topics you find in this Mutkal literature, these introductions into astrology, for example, written by Abu Mashar, Al-Kabisi, Al-Biruni.
Which is also small.
Yeah, so
he writes an extensive book and calls it Introduction.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but in the end, he wrote his abbreviation too, so this is quite handy.
Oh yes.
Yeah. But some of this basic information you find in these introductions into astrology in the Arabic sources is more or less exactly what you find in the beginning of the tabṣira. You have what you mentioned before. You have the terms, for example, discussed. You have the Lord of the Triplicities. You have the chapter on the planets, their characteristics, and so on. You have the deacons discussed. You have a chapter on the zodiacal signs with all their characteristics and attributions and so on.
Can I ask you something about the deacons? Because I'm curious. You know, there are two sequences. I don't know if you know them by heart, but there are two sequences. One, the Western, so to say, begins with Aries, begins with Mars in Aries.
Yes.
But then follows the order of the planets according to the spheres.
Yeah.
And the one that is used in Hindu astrology is the one that follows the rulerships of the planets. For instance, for Aries, instead of Aries, Mars, and then Sun and Venus, following the descending order of the spheres, it would be Mars, and then Sun again, because it's the ruler of Leo, but then instead of Venus, it would be Jupiter, because it's the ruler of the other side of fire, Sagittarius. Which one, if you remember by heart, I don't know, which one does he use?
He uses the first one. He starts with Mars in Aries and proceeds according to the organization of the arrangement of the spheres.
The spheres. Okay.
That's the general one. The thing is, this is the chapter I've just published, I think, on Saturday, on my homepage. There's a very strange part in this chapter I do not understand yet properly, because he seems to introduce another tripartition of the zodiacal signs and attributes them to the planets. And I couldn't find this kind of tripartition in other sources. But I will ask further colleagues if they are familiar with. And so if you are interested to have a look on it,
of course I am.
the chapter is online. If you have any idea about this strange kind of tripartition,
do you remember some of the sequence, or just probably not?
Wait. How does it work?
I can look. I can take a look later.
I think it was it uses the lot of the triplicities
Oh,
and
yeah.
attributed them to the thirds of the zodiacal signs.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes,
that is.
and exactly. He uses the lot of the day for the first third, the
And
lot
then
of
the
the
night, and then
night.
the participant.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
that is something that they sometimes do
Yeah,
for several reasons. For instance, I don't remember the sources, but I can look up
yeah, that
later.
would be great.
They do this for two main applications. One is for timing. For instance,
Yeah.
the lords of the triplicity of the ascendant, the first would be for the first third of life, the second for the second, and the third for the
Yeah,
third.
yeah,
And the condition of this planet in the chart would determine how much or how good or how difficult would be each part of life.
yeah,
The other application is for certain houses. It's the lord of the sign that is in the cusp of the house. So the triplicities would, let's say the ninth house, for instance, it is related to religion, travel, and knowledge. So one
yeah.
of them would be for religion, the other for travel, and the other for knowledge. I can give you the sources. I don't remember by heart, but
This would be great because one of the problems in the tabṣira is that he usually does not mention any of his sources.
oh,
But
that is strange.
I'm quite sure that he's very familiar with the traditions, and I'm quite sure that he does not record something new. Yeah. So what he's doing in his other treatises is, for example, to adapt information to Yemeni conditions. Yeah. But he does not invent new things. So I'm sure he has also found this tripartition of the zodiacal signs somewhere.
I
And
can send you the sources. Yes.
yeah, if I could find it in the Arabic
Let me
sources, would
say,
be
I'm not
nice.
sure if this is the case, but I can send you and you can compare.
I check it, I compare it, and probably I suggest it might be a Latin source, right?
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if it is not one Arabic source. I think it's an Arabic source. I have to check. There are so many. You know how it is. We have all these ideas kind of.
Yeah.
Just let me get back to what you said, which is very, very interesting. You said that he does not quote sources, which is strange because most of them do, but also that he tries to adapt what he does to his reality, to the Yemeni reality. That is very interesting because it's about respecting the tradition, but also being sensitive to the context. And they try to get this middle term between tradition and context. And the other thing you said is like it does not bring anything new. I think in the 13th century and later throughout all the medieval period, the top the top sign of knowledge was not to bring anything new. It would be like to be an expert, to attain excellence in whatever there is. So the idea of bringing new things, although they all contribute to their own experience. If you read like Ezra, for instance, Abraham ben Ezra, he gives all the tradition, and then he said, "But I say this," and it can be quite aggressive, but their top expression of knowledge would be like to be an expert in the tradition. The idea of bringing something new would be like 16th century.
Yeah, but this, let's say, this idea of bringing new, this is true for his Kitāb al-Tabṣira, for the treatise I'm working on. But he also wrote, for example, a treatise on agriculture. A colleague of mine, Daniel Risco, is working on at the moment on an edition and I think a translation too. And he has the idea that that he incorporated Yemeni information he collected by traveling through the country. So this is a different situation to the tabṣira. In the tabṣira, I would say, especially the astrological chapters, he relies on, let's say, some general information on astrology, and probably he just do not mention the source because it's well known. It's common knowledge.
It's common knowledge, yes.
With the author,
These treatises on astrology, the one that you mentioned, they are absolutely fascinating for me. And there is this book, The Last Pagans of Iraq. It's about Nabatean
Yes.
astrology, you know.
Yeah, I noticed. This is very interesting.
Lots of astrological references.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that this treatise also has this kind of approach of agriculture.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to read it, because I would love to compare with the Nabatean astrology.
Yeah.
Is it published?
No, not yet. He's working on it.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, editing and translating Arabic manuscripts is not. It's a little bit
No.
time consuming.
Yes, it
Time
is.
consuming. Let me say. But just one word to your interest in this tripartition. I decided to publish chapter by chapter online before making altogether a book. And this is exactly the reason, to get additional information by colleagues who are more familiar with some topics than I am. And just to encourage people to contact me if there is something they can add to my.
Yes, this is also something that I would like to stress, that your work is accessible to scholars, and they can discuss with you certain aspects of it, and you're open to discussion. And this is a very interesting way of going about research, like promoting the exchanges between scholars. I hope you get lots of people talking to you. To contribute with new perspectives to your text.
Yeah, I'm just in the beginning of the project, so let's see what happens. But this was I thought this is a good idea, because the tabṣira has so many topics. And besides these astrological basics, in the beginning we have calendars, we have omens, we have some medical things, mathematics, geography, instruments, and
in geography, and you just said the magical word, because I really love astrological geography. Does he attribute signs or planets to regions or kingdoms?
Yes, he does, but not in the geographical parts. He does it in the astrological chapters, where he introduces the planets and the zodiacal signs. And one of the attributes he adds is
I see.
regions to the signs, for example.
Because one of my projects would be to collect all this information and to see how it works. I have a published chapter on a book on this, but it requires more work. And the way they focus on the attributions, first of all, it shows their interest, because they are focused more in the Middle East or in Europe or in any other region. And also it shifts. And sometimes we see the persistence of memory, because there's this attribution, it had a reason, but no longer exists, but it's still there. So this is also a very, very fascinating topic. The other thing, can we talk about colors?
Yes, of course. Although I have to admit, the research I've done on the colors is quite a long time ago. It's more than 10 years old.
Well, the manuscript was written a long time ago also, and it's still relevant.
That's true. Now, the colors is a very fascinating topic, because the descriptions of the colors he attributes to the planets and to the zodiacal signs are very detailed. And this is one, let's say, one hint, because I have this quite often in tabṣira, that it's general tradition, but then you find some details. It's really difficult to track down. For example, this tripartition of the zodiacal signs, you don't find it in Abu Mashar, or I couldn't find it in Abu Mashar, for example.
I'm not sure if it is in Abu Mashar. One of the things, but I will send you the link. I will send you a few topics on this, because I remember this. I don't remember who wrote about this.
But it's let's say a little bit parallel to the colors. You have information you read and you think, oh, this is all very well known in this time and very common and so on and so on. And then, oops, what's that here?
Yes.
And the same is with the colors. You have the attribution of this association of planets and colors is quite old, but then you get such a detailed description of them. And the question is, where do they come from?
Maybe here is where he brings his own knowledge into, because what I noticed here is that although we all know the attributions, like the Mars is red and Saturn is black and all these things, but then he goes into such detail. And the interesting thing, he goes into details that are related to physical objects. For instance, the moon, he said it's white, but also the color of the blades of a sword, like green. So he goes into detail. Probably this is his own experience of color.
Yeah, I think this just, I had to come to an end when I published this article, but I'm quite sure it's worth further research and to check if the kind of descriptions he uses you really can't find in other sources, but this is concerning the Arabic manuscripts. You know how few are edited and translated and easy accessible. So this is quite different. What I'm really looking forward is what I skipped for the article was the association of the zodiacal signs with the colors. And they are also very, not that detailed in the planets' colors, but also detailed. And probably we'll find, when I have finished this chapter, there will be more to discuss and probably to find the sources.
Do the colors follow the elements of the signs, or they are completely random? Well, I am very curious about that.
I'm not sure if they are random or not. I can't tell. Yeah.
Well, I mean, random for us, not random for them.
Yeah. Let's say when I read the chapter and did the first edition, I can't see any rules or relations that tell me why this color. Yeah. But you have the same problem with the planets. That Mars is red is quite obvious, but the other colors. Yeah, and I think with the zodiacal signs it's even more complicated, but it's, as far as I remember, it's not related to the elements.
So I am curious. And could it be related to the ruler, or I don't know, to the ruler of the exaltation or something?
These are all very good ideas. I have to check.
Sometimes they value not only the ruler, the domicile ruler, but also the exaltation. For instance, for Libra, we have Venus, but we have Saturn as the exaltation. So probably they will relate it to a darker color. I think I read something here about Capricorn and Libra, and we think like, oh, Capricorn is earth and Libra is air. So what's the relation? The relation is Saturn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn and Libra is the exaltation of Saturn. So I read something in your article about this. I don't know.
Yeah, but it might be worth to proceed with this, that you check the dignities of the zodiacal signs, which are there, and see if you can relate it to one of the planets, for example, or to one of the dignities or the shares. So it's worth a look, of course.
It's an attempt to understand. I'm not saying that it is, but we can take a look. I'm very curious about this. And what I got from your article is that this author, he seems to be including his own experience, because he agrees, I would say he agrees with the general colors, like red for Mars and white for the moon and so on. And then he goes into details.
Yeah, if he relies on his own experience, I'm not sure about.
I'm not sure either.
in the case of the colors, but it seems to be so when coming to his agricultural treatise, that he's relying on his own or to experience he became recorded by, for example, by farmers or something like that. So I think a person who is interested in to listen to people and to include such knowledge, if this really becomes the result of then a risk of research, this is just the first information I read in his articles, that it seems to be some kind of knowledge from Yemeni farmers he integrated. So this gives you an idea of what kind of an author you have here, and how interested he is in topics. and you have to take this into consideration for the tabṣira too. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward for new chapters. I haven't read all the ones that you have, but I have take a look, and it is fascinating. I think these manuscripts have so much to give us, and if we actually look at them and develop the time to translate and study them, they begin like connecting to other manuscripts, to other knowledge.
Yeah,
fascinating.
This was one of the reasons why I decided to do an English translation too, because I think there might be relations to, let's say, to the Latin sources or to India, and you know, all we scholars are restricted to our language areas, and so I thought another translation is helpful, but it needs time.
The other thing I would like to address, just to finish our conversation, is calendars and timekeeping, which is also another very, very interesting topic. You mentioned that the manuscript has some chapters that are dedicated to calendars, timekeeping.
Yeah.
And this is such a difficult thing to do, even today with our clocks and computers, timekeeping and to be precise when it comes to time. So what can you give me an idea of the contents of these chapters just before we go?
Yes, one of the timekeeping chapters has tables that give you the altitude of the sun at a specific point of the day in during the course of the year. It gives you, for example, the altitude of the sun at midday, but also for the beginning of the afternoon prayer, one of the 5 prayers in Islamic ritus. And this is one thing. And what is still published from the tabṣira is the almanac. This is published by Daniel Riscos in 1994, I think. And this is really, it gives information on the lunar mansions, gives information on not navigation, what's going on the sea, so ships coming to Aden and ships leaving Aden.
Tides?
Not the tides, just ships coming and going to India. And so it's more information about seafaring, and such information are included there. And there another chapter, there's a similar chapter with similar information, and another one deals with the converting calendars from one calendar to the other. So if you have a Muslim calendar, you want to go to the Egyptian calendar, or not to the Byzantine calendar or something, then you have these converting rules. This is another one.
So this would be the kind of information that a very learned person would need to convert one calendar to the other. And the other thing you said about the position of the sun in a prayer, probably it would be calculated by an astrolabe, I suppose. Or can you just look and...
You need some kind of an altitude measurement.
Sorry, cat bombing. Sorry about this. Well, it's a classical. Oh, sorry. It's a classical on online meetings. We always have kind of a cat bombing. Go.
No, it's fine with me.
Sorry.
The cat who lives here at the moment sometimes also jump on my desk. So I had it in video conferences too. Yeah, so just. No, that's no problem.
He's returning.
What's the name? Its name?
Oh, his name is a very strange name. It's a Portuguese name, Marafado, because it's a typical dialect word meaning used in the south of Portugal, Algarve. It means like feisty or something like that, because he came from that part of the country, Algarve.
Cute, really cute. Nice cat.
10 years old already.
10 years old. Why? It's quite an age.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's interested in the manuscript also. So,
great.
would you like to say something more? Is there something else in the manuscript that I left out?
it's a rich content. I think we can talk another podcast about it. But I can just encourage people to have a look on on my projects page, and if they want to know more, just to contact me. Then
okay, I will leave your link in the description.
Great. Yeah.
Or I will leave your link, and I hope you have contributions, interesting contributions. There are a lot of people studying astrology in academic level, and they have very, very interesting ideas. And if we can connect all these ideas,
yeah,
all these manuscripts will come to life again. That's the interesting part. What you have is a 13th century manuscript, so very old, very early, if you prefer. And this is precious. This is absolutely precious to understand how they used to study, how they thought, what they were interested in. So yes, I'm looking forward for new chapters and new translations. And I will send you the this idea of the triplicities.
Yeah, would be great.
It could be interesting. I don't know if it is what you're looking for, but it's a possibility.
Great.
So thank you, and goodbye for now. And we will speak soon, I hope.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Ciao.